Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Pull up a chair.
Today is Monday, October 30th, 2023, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Israeli soldiers are carrying out targeted raids in Gaza. as the death toll is inching towards 10,000 since the invasion began. Also, massive protests in support of the Palestinian people have been taking place all across the world. London, Los Angeles, New York. Counterterrorism expert Malcolm Nance will join us to talk about the role the United States is playing in this conflict and what will be the implications for President Joe Biden, especially with a lot of young voters. Indiana House Democrat Representative Carson calls New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer a coward and a punk after they didn't see eye to eye over what's happening in Israel. The ADL, they're ticked off at Carson. Carson says, bring it on. Republican Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin's administration admits the number of voters erroneously deleted from the state's rolls over probation violations is larger than they initially thought. Really? And the effort to keep Donald Trump off Colorado voters' ballots in the March presidential primary is being decided in a courtroom. Plus, this weekend's 11 mass shootings is inching this year's total to 600. Plus, they have been the melody behind Frankie Beverly and Maze for years. Tonight, I'll sit down with the members of the Music Forever to discuss their split from the music icon and also their new single with their fellow band members, including singer Chris Walker. It is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
The Israeli-Gaza conflict is intensifying. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not agreeing to a ceasefire and has vowed to move forward with its plans to wipe out Hamas since the militant group launched its surprise attack on Israel on October 7th. More than 8,000 people have been killed and tens of thousands are left homeless. The World Bank is predicting oil prices could reach uncharted waters if this conflict does not come to some resolution soon. Also, you have massive protests taking place all across the world for folks who are saying free Palestine. It's also having a significant impact on the poll numbers of President Joe Biden, as many young voters are angry with his support for Israel's response. Joining me now is counterterrorism expert, author Malcolm Nance. Malcolm, glad to have you on the show. So first, let's start here. It has been very interesting watching all of these responses. Folks were shocked by the Hamas attack. Obviously, Israel was going to respond. But now you have folks who are saying, wait a minute, you move forward with a ground assault. All of a sudden, now you're displacing millions of people, 2.2 million in Gaza alone, 50% children. The whole battle, do you allow in water, food, oil, things along those lines? Just your assessment where we are now, some 23 days later.
You know, I'm glad you've asked me that, because I really want to put into perspective what a lot of people are responding to is about 3 weeks old. In a circumstance, a historical circumstance that's well over a century in the development, that's 70 years since the founding of Israel, which has been occurring nonstop. There's been a circular crisis for decades at this point. However, let's go to the precipitating event before people say, okay, you're bombing Palestinian children. What happened on 7 October was unprecedented. I mean, unprecedented in the history of Israel. Yes, they had multiple Arab armies attack them. 1948. They attacked multiple Arab armies in 1956. In 1967, another Arab armies attack. 1973, a surprise attack by Egypt on 6th October 1973. What happened on 7 October 2023, which was 50 years plus 1 day, was a terrorist group, Hamas, which is an international terrorist group. It carries out acts of terrorism. It is not a resistance organization. It is not freedom fighters. When they attack, they kill only civilians for a political purpose to impact an audience outside of the immediate victims. Definition of terrorism. They attacked Israel across the borders and went and hunted every man, woman, and child on the other side of that border. They did not bypass villages to go engage the police. They did not bypass towns to go engage the army in a straight battle. They carried out an ISIS-like act of terrorism. And over a day, they slaughtered by hand, one by one, 1,400 individual people. Literally used all their ammunition to fight the army, to execute every civilian across that border. Now, on the other hand, it did include some people you wouldn't have imagined. Sub-Saharan African taxi drivers, Thai guest workers, nurses from the Philippines and India. They killed everyone. And the purpose of their operation was to launch and kill everyone. Then bring 200 or more hostages back to Gaza and hope that the Israelis would go insane, come across that border in a blitz, and they would have an apocalyptic battle in the middle of 2.2 million Palestinians and hope that they would gain the support of all the Arab world and terrorist groups around the world, and to show that Israel was now fighting in the middle. Israel right now is listening to U.S. advice. They are not running into this battle. I call it Pac-Man at molasses speed, which is what we would have advised them to do when we fought battles against ISIS and al-Qaeda terrorists in Iraq. You go slowly, you bite off sectors, you isolate the enemy, and you try to get the civilian population to displace. When we attacked Fallujah, 90% of the population of that city was gone, had moved, had seen the fighting was coming. Palestinians, the Hamas, aren't doing that. The Palestinian population is trapped with Hamas in the Gaza Strip, but the Israelis are going to have to carry out this operation against Hamas anyway, in order to eliminate them off the face of the earth, technically, and that's where we are.
So this is from Human Rights Watch, Malcolm, and they put this out on August 28th, more than a month before. They talked about the number of Palestinian children who had been killed in the West Bank. They said last year, 2022, was the deadliest year for Palestinian children in the West Bank in more than 15 years. Well, I bring that up because as we examine this entire deal, you talk about the number of Israelis who were killed on October 7th, and we've also seen Palestinians killed. And so really where the struggle is now, I mean, I'm looking at these college campuses, I'm looking at what's happening in these cities, I'm looking at these massive marches as well, and the number of people who literally are saying highly critical of Israel's action as well is that killing begets more killing, begets more killing, and therefore there is really no end to this. President, go ahead.
I hear this argument all the time. I mean, I worked this region for 40 years. My first 10 years were spent working the Hezbollah, Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, terror environment. In fact, trying to isolate the location so that we can carry out hostage rescues of over 100 foreigners that were being held by Hezbollah in Lebanon. I mean, if you want to go back on arguments that are historical in nature, go back to the Roman occupation of Judea in 6 BC. Or, I mean, this region, this part of the world has been involved in cycles of human conflict forever. The Israelis or the Jews have been there since 1250 BC. I mean, there's this historical argument people want to make. I am merely trying to put it into perspective went on October 7th. If that attack had occurred in the United States, and it wasn't artillery hitting a neighborhood and maybe killing 3 or 4 people, it was summary execution of every person they found in that part of Israel. Summary execution. Took them, zip-tied them, lined them, shot them in the head. Very big difference from people who are killed in war, because war has a completely different set of rules. If you violate it, you do it deliberately, that's called a war crime. Terrorism is when you hunt down the equivalent of 50,000 U.S. citizens and execute them one bullet at a time. So the precipitating event was designed by Hamas to do precisely what you see the Israelis are doing. They want this war. They want this battle with their fighters. They set up to be in the middle of civilians so civilians would die at the hands of the Israelis, because to them that's martyrdom.
So how do you now deal with this? Some 300 go to my iPad, 300 to 500,000 people protesting in London over the weekend. Then of course you had thousands who were marching in Los Angeles, in New York. And now what you're now seeing that this conflict is having a direct impact on the presidential election, because if you now look at the poll numbers, folks are pissed off, especially a number of young voters, at President Joe Biden's response to this. The State Department early on saying no talk of a ceasefire, and folks are saying, what are you talking about? And so that's the conundrum that we are now in American politics.
Well, look, let's go back to England and that march there. England has a Muslim population that is astronomical compared to the United States. So seeing 100,000 people march in London in solidarity with the Palestinian people is fine. People marching in Los Angeles, people marching in New York City. I wrote a Substack op-ed just a couple of days ago where I said the problem that we're having with certainly a lot of these young voters and even African-American Black Lives Matter activists, they don't quite understand some of the words, terminology, and things they're protesting for. This isn't about, whose babies matter more, right? When Israel goes and bombs Hamas, they are not aiming at the Palestinian people. For people who have never been in war, for people who have never actually had to plan these strikes, who have to knock out 500 kilometers of underground tunnels, to you, it looks like indiscriminate bombing. I've had to plan these airstrikes. Bosnia, Libya, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria. We don't hit indiscriminately. The Israelis don't either, because 1, it serves no purpose. 2, it does not degrade the terrorist group. 3, it just creates hate and mayhem.
So Malcolm, how do you then though explain to those very same people that the conditions under which the Palestinians are living, being unable to self-govern, unable to move? Jimmy Carter called it apartheid in his book. And so how do you still even deal with that? Because that's really where a lot of people are. There are people who are saying they don't want to see death on either side. They don't want to see Israelis being killed and Palestinians being killed. And then it all comes back to a two-state solution. Is that real?
Sure.
Can you ever achieve that?
That's politics. And look, you're never going to find anybody. I speak Palestinian dialect Arabic, Levantine dialect Arabic. I have been for the two-state solution forever. I have been in that region of the world for decades. But some things you do have to understand. Most of the people that are angry right now couldn't spell Palestine 3 weeks ago. They weren't angry when Bashir al-Assad used chemical weapons and mass murdered 500,000 of their own people. There's a fight going on in Sudan right now. 5,000 people have been killed by 2 factions that have been fighting. Somalia, Libya, Lebanon. Lebanon. I went to the Civil War. They had been massacring each other to the tune of 125,000 people. ISIS literally tried to wipe out all of northern Iraq and Syria and took slaves doing it. What people are showing here is one of 2 things. One, this is something they could wrap their head around because there's a lot of cameras. Or, to be quite honest, there's a lot of inherent anti-Semitism in this. And maybe they think in solidarity with their Palestinian brothers and sisters who are angry that this position is the right one. But you know what? This is essentially like protesting for Al-Qaeda, all right, after 9/11. You have to determine your terminology. And I've seen a lot of these young kids on campus do this. You must exclude Hamas from your discussion. If you say you're for the Palestinian people, God bless them, I love them. Be for the Palestinian people. But then you have to condemn the terrorist group Hamas that is using 2.2 million people for human shields. Hamas is underground, 3, 4, 5, 100 meters underground, and they have left the Palestinian people on the top to take the bombing from the Israelis. That's part of their strategy. Dead baby strategy, we call it. Terrorist groups have used it forever. I don't want to see this fighting, but this isn't a question of whether you can have a ceasefire. When you mass murder every individual, everyone, 1,400, one by one, then take 200 hostages, you're going to get what you're getting. It happened to us. It happened with Al-Qaeda. It happened with ISIS. Hamas knew what they were doing, and they abandoned the Palestinian people above ground to take the Israeli shellings and killings. Even though the Israelis are trying not to kill them, artillery, bombs, rockets, and machine gun fire, if you do not displace out of the battle space, can hurt you and kill you. In many circumstances, Hamas won't let civilians leave. So, unfortunately, this is called war. And people are talking like the Palestinian people weren't beleaguered before 3 weeks ago.
Well, but Malcolm, there are people who are activists who were talking. No, follow me here. There were people who were talking about the Palestinian people before 3 weeks ago. Hold on one second. I'm going to go to break. My panelists have some questions for you. We'll be right back right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
I'm Dee Barnes, and next on The Frequency, we talk to award-winning screenwriter and director Chanel Dupree about her film, You Think You've Grown, the adultification of young black girls. This is a conversation that all women can relate to.
This woman was like, oh my God, I went through this when I was a kid. She wore something, it was a maxi dress, but the way it fit on her body, this female teacher thought that she looked too grown and spun her around in front of a male teacher and said, do you think she looks grown, right?
Oh my God. So that's next time on The Frequency on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Jamia Pugh. I am from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, just an hour right outside of Philadelphia.
My name is Jasmine Pugh. I'm also from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Welcome back, folks. We're talking to counterterrorism expert and author Malcolm Nance. You see right here a number of his books you can actually check out right there. My panel, they have been waiting to ask you a few questions. I'll start first with Julian Malveaux. Dr. Julian Malveaux, economist, president emerita, Bennett College. Julian, go right ahead.
Brother Malcolm, first of all, let me say how much I appreciate you and your work and your history and your legacy. At the same time, I have to ask you, because implicit in some of what you said has been basically an anti-Palestinian bias. Is it possible to be critical of Israel and still not be being accused of being anti-Semitic? This happens to many of us every day. We are critical of the relationship the United States has with Israel, with the unfettered dollars that we've given to Israel. Can we basically articulate those criticisms without being called anti-Semitic?
Right. Well, first, I'm honored to be speaking to Dr. Julia Malveaux. You're, another one of my heroes. But let me answer your question quite plainly. I am a counterterrorism and intelligence expert. My job is simple. All right. We identify threats which meet the threshold of terrorism. We categorize those threats. We factor them in as to what culture, location, geography, all of those other things. And then we work back on the history. Hamas, by every definition, is a terrorist group. What they carried out on October 7th, without any question, was the summary execution, one by one, of 1,400 people. That is where I draw the line on everything, okay? Anti-Palestinian, I've worked with the Palestinians for decades. I love the Palestinian people. I think that what happens in Israel is quite unfair. I am not for the settlement of the West Bank. I'm a big follower of the two-state solution. I think that given the right circumstances, maybe even now at the end of this crisis, maybe the time for the Palestinian people to have true self-determination. Voting for Hamas 17 years ago and then Hamas never running another opportunity for them to express leadership or for them to express who they want to be in. And now it's 58% that prefer to have the Palestinian Authority in charge. Hamas wiped them out in 2000, in the battles of 2005 to 2007, literally wiped out the Palestinian Authority police. It is a terrorist group that is now running, all right, a population of 2.2 million people, and they do not spend their money on those people. They spent all of the piping that was supposed to be for underground water features to build over 10,000 rockets. They spent all of the concrete money to rebuild structures on a hundreds of kilometer multi-layered tunnel system, which we're now finding out is a lot more extensive than even we thought. The Palestinians in Gaza, the Gazans, could have all of that aid money used for themselves. We saw a good example of it on the massacre. They caught the pickup trucks that were being used, were supposed to be used for the municipality. The first aid kits on their terrorist groups were all donated by UNICEF for the population. This isn't about being anti-Palestinian. This isn't about being pro-Israel. This is about identifying a threat which traps as hostages the entire 2.2 million Palestinians. Should we be sympathetic to the innocent people? Yes, we should. But we should also understand that Hamas has now reached the level of ISIS, and they are going to have to, essentially be treated exactly like ISIS, which is the only way you're going to be able to get rid of the people who carried out that massive onslaught and break this cycle is to free the Palestinian people, but eliminate the people that carried out the terrorism.
Let me also remind you that the Bush administration was told by the PLO not to keep pressing for that election in Gaza. They ignored the PLO, and we see what has happened. There was the election. They said Hamas was going to win, and that's what happened. And there's not been an election in Gaza since.
I make a quick point on that. Because the Israelis, and here's where I criticize the Israelis, were so damn focused on killing Yasser Arafat and getting rid of their old nemesis, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which became the Palestinian Authority, that they didn't, either they understood or they just didn't comprehend. They were electing a radical terrorist group.
Well, we now have Israelis who've been critical of Netanyahu for basically cutting off the PLO and in a sense encouraging money going to Hamas in order to split those two apart. And this is now what we're left with. So to your point, what they did then is what Netanyahu, frankly, has continued up till this day.
Roland, Malcolm didn't answer my question about whether it was possible to be critical of Israel and still not be described as anti-Semitic. I think this is really important for some of the young people who are protesting and for many others.
Malcolm?
Sure, I did it. Not a minute ago, I was critical of Israel without being anti-Semitic. This is politics. This isn't religion. But what we're finding in some of the protests, and again, I wrote this Substack because I got sent some horrific stuff by African Americans. I can tell when Palestinian Americans or Arab Americans or others, people from Southwest Asia write to me in Arabic but we have some people here who are now essentially letting their freak flags fly. They are coming out and revealing an inner anti-Semitism, which, to be quite honest, is not normal for this clash between African Americans and Jews. And they're making it that. Not Israelis, not Netanyahu. No one is ever going to support Netanyahu after this massacre. He was a criminal, essentially about to lose power, worked with the right wing, and he is responsible for a lot of this. But the terrorist attack, he is not responsible for, other than the fact that he moved 3 brigades off that border in order to suppress, assist settlers in the West Bank. Things will have to change here. You can criticize Israel, but you can and not be considered anti-Semitic. But if you support Hamas openly, which I have seen, now you are supporting a terrorist group. And that is where you're probably going to have a lot of trouble.
Renita Shannon, go ahead.
Well, first I want to say, I take offense to you saying that anybody who sort of doesn't see the conflict the way that you see it, they are people who just learned how to spell Palestine last week. It's not true. Many folks have been informed about this ongoing conflict and what has happened and looking much further than October 7th and going back decades. I think that is represented by the fact that you do have people across the world who are standing in support of Palestinians, and also by the fact that you have what is a growing and significant Jewish voice of, that is building and growing, that are saying, not in our name, we want a ceasefire, and have consistently stood for Palestinian rights. So I'm going to ask you more of a political question, since you sort of walked into what type of people you feel do not share your same viewpoint. And so the political question is, what would you say to people who are looking at this and are thinking about the fact that here in America, they are paying tax dollars? As Black folks, we are constantly being told that we can't have reparations because that's too expensive. We are constantly being told as Americans altogether that we can't do any sort of broad health care because that's too expensive. We're told we can't have child care, universal child care support, because that's too expensive. Everything is too expensive, but what is never too expensive is funding wars that are going on outside of the country. What would you say to people who feel like that? Because many people, they do know how to read, they have studied history, and they just have a different view than you.
Yeah, well, my view comes from the counterterrorism perspective as the person that had to deal with these people when I say people, I'm talking terrorists. All right. I am not talking the people of Palestine. And the only way that you generally get rid of terrorist groups is you have to have the population lose their support, to have the shackles lifted off of them from groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the Shabab in Somalia. And that's the only way that they can start moving forward with their lives. So that's the perspective that I come from. It is not an anti-Semitic perspective. It is not an anti-Arab perspective. I've worked with both on both sides, and certainly every country that surrounds them from a military and intelligence perspective. I understand it. And believe me, a lot of people are new to this. For those who aren't, bravo. Help educate the people who have just come into this. And, and this is no slam to the people who are emotional about this, because it is an emotional issue. I was just in Dubai and Qatar on the days after the attack. At the same time, Secretary Blinken and Secretary of Defense Austin were there. And the Gulf states, even for all of their rhetoric, are really tired of the terrorism and having to fund, these international groups. But here, for people who are here on this side, who see money going overseas, the kind of money we're talking about is one fraction of a percent here in the United States. Now, Israel every year got $3.5 billion in defense support. As a balance for the treaty that they had with Egypt, with Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin, we give Egypt $3.5 billion in defense support so that they can combat their current ISIS problem that's occurring in the Sinai. So what do you say? Why shouldn't we keep that money at home? We have more than enough money to walk and chew gum at the same time. Now, you're talking to a person who fought in Ukraine for a year with the International Legion. I hear this same argument about Ukraine, even though we're actually saving money by giving these archaic weapon systems that would have to be disposed of and paid for through breakers and people getting rid of ammunition the same way. You are not, as a person who is in, let's say, Detroit, going to receive 155 millimeter artillery shells that the United States already pre-positioned in Israel for a broader Middle East war. We are giving them those stocks. We are not giving the Israeli government money to expand their economy. We are not giving the Israeli government money to buy new villas. We are giving them war stocks that the United States paid for decades ago, which we store in Israel in order for them to start to carry out the operation that they may need. Not to mention, it's not just Hamas. Israel is preparing because they may have a multi-front war with terrorists in Lebanon, Hezbollah, a group that I worked against for decades, all right, that are backed directly by Iran, Shia Muslim militias that operate out of Syria that attack across the Golan Heights. You may have a three-front war, and not to mention Iran by extension, which had its subordinates in Yemen fire missiles towards Israel. This can get a lot worse. And if you want to talk about American money going somewhere, just imagine this becoming a regional war between Iran, Syria, parts of Lebanon, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and then the offensive that they're doing against Hamas. It's better that this not get out of control and that the United States support it with the resources which are already there.
Omokongo Dominga, professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University.
Yes, Mr. Nance, I have a great deal of respect for your work and really have just an appreciation of not just your service, but your family's history of service. I think, being on a campus, I see much of the difference between those who may, support Hamas, but much of what I'm seeing, and even in colleges I'm speaking at across the country, they are people who are able to differentiate between a terrorist organization and the people on the ground. My question for you is, I'm of the philosophy that you can't bomb an idea away. I'm of the philosophy that for every one innocent killed, you can create 10 more terrorists. And I just don't see how this leadership under Netanyahu, you described him as relates to the people he surrounded himself with. I don't see how this actually ends Hamas. In my opinion, I feel like this is something that is going to create more members of Hamas just by these violent attacks alone. You know this region better than most, and you know what people have nothing to turn to may turn to the most militant wing, like you said, who's also been empowered by Netanyahu in some ways, but that's just going to continue the idea of Hamas. And I just don't see how this current strategy is going to lead to the ending of Hamas.
Well, see, this is where I agree with you. I've written 3 books, including a New York Times bestseller, on Al-Qaeda and ISIS ideology and how they fight. You cannot shoot an idea out of if you put a bullet through the brain of a person. But this isn't an ideology. What you're seeing here is a transformation of Hamas's technique. Yes, their ideology is they are Palestinian nationalists. They seek the return of their homeland. And when they say their homeland, they don't mean Gaza and the West Bank. They mean every inch of geographic Israel as it was decided by when it was carved out of Transjordan by the British. They're talking, when they make that motto, and this is where university students need to be a little careful. When they say from the river to the sea, they're talking about the elimination of all Judaism, Zionism, whatever you want to call it, all people, including as we saw in the October 7th attack, they wiped out an entire Muslim Bedouin tribe because they said, you were on the other side of the fence, you're no better than Jews. That's what they mean, the elimination of the state of Israel. Now, you and I both know that that's just rhetoric. That is never going to happen, All right, Israel is a nuclear power. They have a military force that has overmatch on all armies around them: Jordanian, Egyptian, Syrian, Lebanese, Saudi. It doesn't matter what you throw at them. If they go to full mobilization, they will defeat you. But in terms of Hamas and Gaza, the Israelis have made it clear that they are going to eat their way through Gaza City, because that's where the heart of Hamas's forces are. Now, there are 3 more sectors of the Strip south of that they will probably have to deal with as well. But for the men who planned, mobilized, and crossed that border in essentially an invasion with the intent to kill every living Jew on the other side of the border, did a pretty good job of it. The Israelis are not going to be adopting a posture in which they will be allowed to exist. So they are taking a look at how we did the Battle of Fallujah in 2004, which is what our Secretary of Defense sent over advisors to say: do not run into Gaza. It's an ambush that Hamas set up for Israel. The entire 7 October attack was designed for you, all of you, to see precisely what you're seeing and to garner support Middle East-wide with protests. I have an article coming out called about how Hamas needs those dead babies. They have pandered this about forever. And now they've got dead Israeli babies. There is blood up on both sides. But you can wipe out a terrorist group for this generation. But here's another thing I caution all of my Israeli followers of. There will need to be a grand deal at the end of this, or you will go into Hamas 2.0, 3.0 with more enemies possibly coming from Lebanon, Syria, a massive explosion of Middle East terrorism. I predict we're going to see pro-Hamas terrorism here in the United States. And then you're really going to see American support change. We're going to go right back to 2001, the way people will start behaving. So something will have to change. The status quo of Netanyahu and now his unity government, he's not the only person making decisions, is going to have to start thinking about in the 2-state solution seriously. And I've had Israelis all week tell me to my face that will never happen now that these bodies have been stacked up in Israel. Well, it will have to happen, because it's the only way to break this cycle, to empower the Palestinians themselves and to rid Gaza of Hamas. But mark my words, we did it to ISIS. You're going to see in northern Gaza City, Hamas as a military force will cease to exist.
Malcolm Nance, we appreciate it. And it's going to definitely be one thing to watch, because there is carnage happening all there. Israelis and Palestinians dying left and right. And that's what's most unfortunate. Death is death. You don't come back from that. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Folks, got to go to break. We'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. If you're watching YouTube, be sure to hit that like button. Also, please support us in what we do. Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club by sending your chicken money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, are you trying to figure out how to earn more revenue in your business during these volatile times? Learn how to tap into the largest marketplace in the world through government contracting. Our next guest, Akia Hardnett, will be sharing how you can get wealthy through government contracting.
We've got a young lady, government assistance to government contracts. She literally was on government assistance when she came to us, and in less than a year, she has been winning multiple government contracts, and it has changed the trajectory of her family.
That's right here, only on Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff.
So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Immigrants lured off Texas streets and shipped to places like Martha's Vineyard and Washington, D.C. Believe it or not, we've seen it all before.
You people in the North, you're so sympathetic to Black people, you take them.
60 years ago, they called it the reverse freedom rides. Back then, Southern governors shipped Black people north with the false promise of jobs and a better life. It's a part of a well-known playbook being brought back to life. So what's next? That's next on the Black Table, a conversation with Dr. Gerald Horne about this issue of the reverse freedom rides, right here on the Black Star Network.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
There's a battle between two congressmen. Indiana Congressman Andre Carson is calling out New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer for blasting House members who voted against a resolution supporting Israel and those who just voted president. Gottheimer posted this on social media. Last night, 15 of my Democratic colleagues voted against standing with our ally Israel and condemning Hamas terrorists who brutally murdered, raped, and kidnapped babies, children, men, women, and elderly, including Americans. They are despicable and do not speak for our party. Carson said this to CNN's Manu Raju about those comments.
He's cowardly. I think he's not acting in the role as a member of Congress. I think he's shown himself to be very emotional. Like most cowardly people, when you confront them, they're afraid. I'm unafraid of the guy. And if he wants to call us despicable, I'm saying he's a coward and he's a punk and he should remember why the people sent him here. And if he wants to play some kind of tough guy or gangster, we can handle it like gentlemen or we can get into something else.
In a statement to CNN, Gottheimer responded to Carson by saying, "I'll sit down with Mr. Carson anytime to talk about how we can bring the hostages home, including all Americans, provide immediate humanitarian aid to Palestinian civilians being used as human shields, and crush Hamas and all terrorists seeking to do us harm." You know, Renita, when you go there, you can expect a response, and Carson didn't hold back.
Right, and Carson was right to not hold back. Representative Gottheimer has no idea what he's talking about, because for him to say that Representative Carson does not represent Democrats and does not represent our party, he did get elected by Democratic voters. So I think he does represent, as I mentioned before, what is a growing number of voices who are saying this is wrong. They have read the history on this. They understand what is going on in real time, and people are familiar with what I would say is up-to-date information on why they feel the way they feel about this conflict. And the fact, I'm going to tell you this, the fact that you had 9 people who voted against the resolution and then 6 people who just decided to vote present, so that's a lot, is what I want to say. I do want to explain what the 6 who voted present mean. That means when a representative is in their seat, they are present, but they are unwilling to cast a vote. So that means that they don't agree with the resolution and they don't disagree. So really, you can kind of count those 6 as, I mean, unless you can get, the only way that resolutions and bills pass are when you have enough support to actually pass it. So if you can't affirmatively vote for something, then the only alternative is that you don't fully agree with what is on the paper. And so you can kind of count those 6 as closer to being in with the 9 than the rest of the folks who voted in favor of it. So I'm glad that Carson took it there. I think he was right to take it there because Gottheimer is wrong. And I think that this is just, this is one of the things that Democrats get wrong in trying to tell people what to think, how to think. And if you don't think a certain way, then you're just stupid, when we know that we are a party that is more like a coalition of different backgrounds coming together versus the Republican Party, which is essentially just white men and women.
I'm a Congo. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush. They joined Carson by voting against the measure. Representative Pramila Jayapal, Joaquin Castro, Ayanna Pressley, they all voted present.
Look, this also goes back to what the United States did in the United Nations as relates to the resolutions that were attempted to be passed there. When you look at the actual language of the resolution, which I've read over, you can completely understand why this group would be against the language of it. I've seen Representative Rashida Tlaib condemn what Hamas did, just like she's also condemned, some of the actions of Israel as well. And so when you look at the resolution, everything looks at Israel as being the only group that is, assaulted and that has, needs to be supported. And that's part of the problem of the resolution. Look, we have to get past this point where you're not allowed to have dissent or differing opinion. If we're trying to bring peace to a situation, we have to be mindful of taking in all sides. One of the reasons why so many people at countries in the United Nations were upset with the United States' first proposal was because they used that language of Israel has the right to defend itself. That's how they started the document, which is basically like the equivalent of I feared for my life, but these officers in Black Lives Matter. People feel like they can do anything once you use certain terminology. And so I believe that if people are going to be true leaders in the House, they need to come together. Remember that this country was founded on dissent and has the right, people should have the right to dissent today. And so really when it comes down to it, people should be able to speak their mind, and we should, and lastly, let's be mindful of the fact that there are over hundreds of Palestinian American people who are trapped in Palestine right now. There's no conversation about what's happening with them. Our people, we need a joint resolution that also condemns a lot of the Islamophobia that's going on as well. And so this is not the time for people to try to say it's you're either with us or against us. That's not how it's going to work. And Roland, we talked about this a little bit last week. My last point is that Biden really needs to get a fix on this because he can't afford to lose any votes going into 2024. And a lot of disaffected youth people, and youth voters in particular, but not only youth, are looking for reasons to not show up. And Arab Americans are losing faith in Biden. And I believe that the Biden administration has done much to help Israel not be more aggressive in its response behind the scenes. But a lot of the language right now is making people say, man, you just as bad as Netanyahu, and we're not going to mess with it. He has to remember that his base is here, and he has to be a little bit more careful with how he nuances this as well.
Julian, that is an important issue because the poll numbers don't lie, and there is a lot of dissension, a lot of anger. And look, he may have had 7 million or whatever votes in 2020, but it was extremely close in Wisconsin, won by 20,000 votes, 12,000 votes in Arizona. You look at the close results in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, and in Georgia. And Michigan is a place where there are a lot of Arab Americans and they vote. And so you're talking about an international conflict. You're talking about political. He has to bridge a lot of different things right here. But you have to factor in what is the role this could play 53 weeks from now.
Roland, the challenge here is that Americans do not read history. If you read history, you would understand Palestinian anger. You would understand what Hamas was trying to do. Now, none of us, nobody on the show, no human being says what Hamas did was right. As Malcolm laid it out, 1,400 people, door to door to door to door. But what he did not lay out was the fact that between 2008 and 2023, more than 6,400 Palestinian people were exterminated by Israeli activity. What he did not lay out, he got halfway to it, but did not, is the deleterious effect that Netanyahu has had on any kind of peaceful activity. And so Andre Carson was right to take Gottheimer on. Gottheimer is indeed a coward, and I don't like to use the word punk. Well, no, actually I do. But anyway, he was out of order, out of line, out of control. There were his colleagues, who he says he'll have a conversation under his conditions. No, he does not get to set the conditions for conversation about legislative action. That is a collaborative process, as Renita has laid out. So what we have here is a situation where the president, who we support, I support, but he has tilted too far to the Palestinian side. And the media, frankly, has done so with the Israeli side. I saw a piece this morning, I think on CNN, where they interviewed this Israeli guy who lost his whole family. Of course, we're all sympathetic. But where's the Palestinian brother or sister who lost his or her whole family? This is what we kind of have to deal with. And so this skirmish between these two congressional members is not the end of the world. It's a year until the election, so it's not the end of the world. But President Joe Biden has the opportunity to reset the terms and conditions of this conversation to make sure that we say all lives matter in this conflict, that you can't just tilt Israel. We have always supported Israel. This country has, sometimes to our detriment. We have not been strong enough, I think, about the rights of Palestinians. And I think those are chickens that are coming home to roost, and unfortunately, with all kind of lives on the line.
All right, folks, hold tight one second. We'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Get wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. Are you trying to figure out how to earn more revenue in your business during these volatile times? Learn how to tap into the largest marketplace in the world through government contracting. Our next guest, Akia Hardnett, will be sharing how you can get wealthy through government contracting.
We've got a young lady, government assistance to government contracts. She literally was on government assistance when she came to us, and in less than a year, she has been winning multiple government contracts, and it has changed the trajectory of her family.
That's right here, only on Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Dee Barnes, and next on The Frequency, we talk to award-winning screenwriter and director Chanel Dupree about her film, You Think You've Grown, the adultification of young Black girls. This is a conversation that all women can relate to.
This woman was like, oh my God, you know, I went through this when I was a kid. She wore something, it was a maxi dress, but the way it fit on her body, this female teacher thought that she looked too grown and spun her around in front of a male teacher and said, do you think she looks grown, right?
Oh my God. So that's next time on The Frequency on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder Disney Plus, and I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
The number of qualified Virginia voters removed from the state rolls is much higher than the 270 Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin initially thought. Election officials admitted they mistakenly removed nearly 3,400 qualified voters from the state's rolls 5 weeks after early voting began for the November 7th General Assembly elections. The administration says local registrars have reinstated all but approximately 100 voters of those by Friday. Those removed had been convicted of felonies, had their voting rights restored, and then went on to violate the terms of their probation. Administration officials said the state's computer software erroneously counted the probation violations as new felonies and disqualified them from voting. Any of y'all buying that? Say it again, Congo.
Nope, not in the slightest. This is what they do. It's the same thing that's going on with these districts and how they, change up the rules, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we made a mistake, oh, but it's too late or it's too close. How many people who have been purged are going to actually realize before the election that they're back on the roster? How many people are going to feel like, intimidated from actually feeling they can be part of the process again? This is the thing about Glenn Youngkin. He is Trump in a suit and tie or in a whatever flannel shirt that he wears. He does it on the low. He's quiet about it. Same thing when he had his snitching policy for critical race theory that's not being taught in schools. And this is just another form of how they're trying to be slick, trying to tap away at little sections of the vote. And we need to call it out. And I'm hoping that more organizations and press networks will call it out. But Roland, I'm not optimistic about that, but I'm glad about the attention you've been putting on this over the last few weeks and even before that.
We see what's going on here, Julian. It's amazing how it's always a mistake when Republicans just remove folks from voting rolls.
Well, Glenn Youngkin came in talking about restricting basically Black participation. And now we see what he has done, not he with his own hands on it, but he. The fact is that these voters have a legal recourse, and I hope they're calling Barbara Arnwine and other, because the election is next week. What does that mean to them? That's what I'm focused on. How close will these elections be? What does it mean to them that the governor and the structure has basically said, y'all don't have no rights. Y'all don't have no rights. Again, we're going back to post-Reconstruction America, post-Reconstruction Virginia. It's reprehensible. But Roland, as you know, because you've been down there doing town halls and really raising awareness, and we are grateful to you for that. But as you know, as I know, as our panel knows, this ain't new game. This is not a new game. This is what has been happening in these United States between 1865 and 1876. Let's keep these people off the polls by whatever means necessary.
You know a little bit about this, Renita, in Georgia.
Actually, I know a lot about it, and I'm with Dr. Malveaux on this. This, those of us who have been paying attention for decades, to what has been happening, this is not the first time that you have seen a southern state come up and say, hey, we mistakenly removed too many people from the rolls based off of prior convictions or based off of us thinking that they were on probation. For whatever reason, the list was inaccurate. This happened about a decade ago in Georgia, and we've seen it happen in other states. And so I think the thing that we really need to get stronger about pushing back on is when these states are using federal laws to say, hey, we have to do something to maintain the rolls. Yes, that is true. But the mechanisms by which Secretary of States across the country maintain voter rolls do not have to include things like using completely inaccurate sheets. And then when you understand that your list is wrong, not up to date and inaccurate, after an election has happened, you say, oh my gosh, what a mistake, because this is a mistake that continues to happen. A mistake that continues to happen over and over and over again.
Absolutely. All right. Hold tight 1 second. We come back Friday on Real Time with Bill Maher. Bill talked about his support of Minnesota Congressman Dean Phillips, who's running for president against Joe Biden in the Democratic primary. And he mainly said it's because he's 54. We come back. I'm going to explain to y'all how that is stuck on stupid. You don't want to miss what I got to say when we come back. Also, folks, for years they played with Frankie Beverly Mays all across the world, but now they have formed their own group. New single is out. What happened with that long-time partnership. We'll talk to TMF in this next hour as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hey, what's up? It's Sammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Of course, before we went to the break, I forgot to tell y'all, Thursday we're going to be in Richmond, Virginia for our last town hall in partnership with the House Virginia Democrats. You can see us right there, folks. We'll be at Virginia Union University on the campus of VUU. Looking forward to that. We want y'all to pack the house out. It's going to be a great conversation. Cannot wait to see all y'all there. And so again, we'll be live there 6 to 8 p.m. With our town hall at Virginia Union. All right, folks. I've spoken about this issue on several occasions. And I saw something, or I saw it on social media Friday, that was just beyond dumb to me. Okay, so first and foremost, in 2020, when Joe Biden ran for president, I knew when I voted that he was 78. I knew that. I knew he was 78. What I also knew is that when somebody decides to run for president and win, they're going to run again. They're going to run again. We can go back to President Lyndon Baines Johnson as the last United States president who could have ran for a second term and who opted not to run for a second term. I can't even remember before him who chose not to. So the moment Biden won, we all knew he was going to run for a second term. So I don't quite understand all of these people who are like, oh my God, Biden is going to be 82. You voted for a 78-year-old dude last time. He was 78. Now he is, what, 81? Going to be 82 by election year next year? So why is anybody shocked? So he's cleared the field. He's running. Well, Friday in New Hampshire, Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota. I know you ain't never heard of his ass. I ain't never heard of him. I don't know what the hell he's done. He's been going around the country for the last several months trying to convince other folk to run. He's decided to jump into the race. And as you know, Biden is not on the ballot in New Hampshire because New Hampshire is pissed off that he made South Carolina the first primary in the nation. Because, you know, the arrogant-ass people in Iowa and New Hampshire, nearly all white, they feel as if they should go before everybody else and we are irrelevant. New Hampshire is so arrogant, they put it in their state constitution that they are the first in the nation primary. Now, I don't know how in the hell you can put it in your constitution and say, forget the other 49 states, but that's what they've done. So Phillips decides to jump on the ballot there, and now he's got these people all excited, and so they want to do payback to Biden. How dare you don't come here first? And it's all about money. They want the attention and the money, and that's what the real deal is. So on Real Time with Bill Maher on Friday, the conversation came up, and it was Bill Maher, Jessica Tarloff, and they were discussing this, and I saw this, and I said, you know what? Bill Maher says a lot of stupid stuff, you know, and it's the same Bill Maher, y'all, you know, who got a little attitude with me when I was on his show one time. Matter of fact, it was 9 years this month when he thought I was on social media when I wasn't. I was literally checking some notes for a topic that we were doing, and so he ain't had me back since, so I really don't care. So I want y'all to hear the conversation, and I got a comment on the back end. Just listen to this here.
Okay. Before we run out of time, Dean Phillips. What? He's the new Mike Johnson. In other words, the new guy I never heard of.
Better name, though.
In Congress. He is a Democrat who is running against Biden. So there is a challenger, Dean Phillips. He's from Minnesota. He's Jewish. He's 54. Did I mention he's 54? He loves Biden. He says exactly what I say. Did a great job, but don't do it again.
That's right.
Family, self-made millionaire from families in the organic vodka business. Dean Phillips. I'm getting behind him for president of the United States. How about you? Do you know anything about him?
Yeah, more than I know about Mike Johnson 2 days ago.
Should we welcome this? Is this good?
I guess, and I was listening to your interview with Governor Cuomo, who was saying that we need a lively primary, and that doesn't take away from anything that Biden has accomplished, which I think we all agree is a tremendous amount. The issue with what Dean Phillips is doing is, there are a lot of kind of, like Steve Schmidt is a senior advisor to him. I got an email today from Andrew Yang, who has not revealed himself, I think, to have the best interests of the Democratic Party winning elections at heart. In 2019, he was maxed out donation from Harlan Crow, who bankrolls Clarence Thomas. You know, there are things about him that I don't like. I appreciate the enthusiasm, and these are issues we should be talking about, but every vote in 2024 is going to count. And if we're losing, you know, the TikTok Hamas vote.
I love him.
And
I love Dean
you
Phillips.
Don't love it.
Because nobody knows who the fuck he is, and that's good. You know what I know about him? He's 54, and he's got a D next to his name. He's already got half the votes, and he doesn't have any of the baggage of the other guys. Okay, we got to go to new rules. Thank you very much.
All right, I've got a new rule. How about stupid shit not said on national television just because you're probably high? So let's just unpack what he just said there. He said, first of all, I'll admit that Biden has done a great job. I don't want him to run again. Okay. Can you show me a corporation in America where somebody says, hey, the CEO's done a hell of a job the last 4 years, let's replace him? How about somebody saying, you know what? We've had a great university president for the last 4 years. How about we get rid of them? If you're some HBCUs like Fisk, you probably would do that on a regular basis, but I digress. So what's dumb to me is to listen to this logic. Then Bill Maher, who had to absolutely be high when he said this. And he says, what I like is that nobody knows him and he's 54. Okay. Can any of y'all, if you watching on the app, on YouTube, on Plex TV, Amazon Freevee, if you're watching on Amazon Prime Video, or if you're watching on Amazon News, can any of y'all tell me what the hell has Dean Phillips done? I'll wait. You know what? I don't think I actually have that much time. He's literally done nothing. So, what Bill Maher is excited about is he's 54. Okay. Again, here's why that is idiotic. We have all these people who are walking around who are going, oh my goodness, I can't stand it. Biden is too old. So let's get somebody young. Okay, so we're saying let's get somebody young who can show vigor, who can give great speeches. We can see them running up and down the beach. We can see them playing basketball or doing things like that. But forget the fact that they could be just totally incompetent at legislation or at governing. No, let's actually get them in because they're young. We literally had an idiot, the orange man, who was there for 4 years, who's only about 4 years younger than Biden, who tried to destroy the country, but guess what? He's younger. If you actually stack up legislative accomplishments of President Joe Biden in his first term and President Barack Obama in his first term, it's a good bet Biden probably will inch him out. Uh-oh, I know some black people just lost their mind right now because criticizing Obama is like cussing out Jesus and MLK at the same time. But facts are facts. When you look at what has actually been done, you cannot argue with what has been accomplished. And it's not like he actually had a perfect situation in the House and the Senate because they barely had the majority in the Senate. So all these people who are running around complaining about age, let me explain something to y'all. I get youth, and I appreciate youth. But it's a lot of shit young people don't know what the hell they doing. And just because they're young, that means nothing to me. And again, I get youth. But with youth, I need for you to have some experience. That's like somebody saying, hey, this young saxophone player is bad. Can his ass play? Can he actually change at the drop of a hat? If all of a sudden, if things change, can they handle the pressure? No, they can't. Give me the experienced person. I'm sorry. And here's the whole deal. For all y'all people who are sitting out here, and my panel, y'all can help me if I don't name all of them. For all the people who are complaining about Biden too old, let's see. Who ran last time? Senator Kamala Harris, Senator Cory Booker, Senator Amy Klobuchar, Andrew Yang, Mike Bloomberg, Senator Elizabeth Warren. Who am I forgetting? It's a bunch of other people who actually ran. All of those people were younger than Joe Biden. So please explain to me, how in the hell did he win and he was the oldest dude on the stage? Could it actually be because he had experience?
And knew something?
Any of y'all, please, by all means, tell me, if you're trying to get your car fixed, are you going to take it to a young mechanic who don't know what the hell they're doing, who can't show you they fixed anything, or you're going to show it to me, take it to the old brother who actually has done this stuff for a long time and can get your car fixed?
You know, Roland,
I'm not done. So here's my whole deal here. I'm not done. Come back to me. I'll let y'all know when I'm done in control room. So this is a point I'm trying to get y'all to understand. Stop with this nonsensical stuff of, oh my God, he's too old. We need somebody young. Let me be clear with y'all, okay? If you understand policy, Inflation Reduction Act, Build Better, funding going to HBCUs, Medicaid expansions, 100+ judges appointed to the federal bench, more black women appointed to the federal appeals bench, and all presidents combined in American history. And so guess what happens? If you're a Democrat and y'all win in 2024, you now get to run it for another 4 years. What's that probably going to mean? Another 200 judges. That means that guess what? Biden can't run again in 2028. So what you're asking for can actually happen. What's on the other side lurking? Oh, the domestic terrorist-loving Donald Trump, a crazy, demented Republican Party who just picked a dude nobody knows out of Louisiana, who adopted a black boy who was 14 years old when he was only 25, but he ain't never really adopted him. Sound like the political blind side. Let's talk about a party that wants to implement Project 2025. It's absolutely going to attack black folks at every single turn. But a bunch of y'all are stuck on Biden's age. And again, I get it. Oh, I don't like, he not moving too fast. I need somebody who can do better. Can we show y'all some younger presidents who absolutely screwed up royally? We ain't gonna talk about Bill Clinton. Okay, Bill Clinton was a hell of a lot younger. Guess what? Bill Clinton made some serious mistakes as well. So don't count me in this group who is so stuck on Dean Phillips. I guess that's his name, Dean Phillips. Hell, I'm thinking Mike Phillips, the saxophone player. I ain't never heard of this dude. I don't even know what bills this dude has ever passed. Have no idea whatsoever. And so, seriously, get a grip, folks. I don't care about Biden's age. What I do care about is that as a white supremacist, a white nationalist who wants to pardon every single person who committed a terrorist act on January 6th, he wants back in the Oval Office. And you know what? If you want to support him, you can go to hell too, because he is evil incarnate. And trust me, when he gets in, if you think he was Damon last time, no, trust me, Lucifer will be showing up himself. Now you can comment, Julianne.
You know, Roland, Bill Maher's crazy. I don't know. He mentioned the guy was 52 like 3 times. He didn't mention anything else about him. Just he's 52. So 52 and a quarter will get you a paper. Not 52. If this guy is serious, he ought to be running ads that talks about his accomplishments. If he's serious, he ought to be surrounded by a diverse group of people who are supporting him. If he's serious, he ought to make a case for himself, not a case against Biden. So the fact that he's 52 just means that he's had 52 runs around the sun. It doesn't mean anything else. There are I don't know how many million 52-year-olds who are in the same situation as he. I'm just cracking up. But thanks for lifting this up and for dealing with Bill Maher, who has started out progressive, has become increasingly demented, I think, in terms of some of his positions and his ire against President Biden. You're right. You can't do anything about your age. You can do something about your behavior. And from my perspective on student loans, on any number of other issues, President Biden has behaved correctly.
Congo.
You know, I'm reminded of Susan Sarandon back in 2016 was talking about, I don't think I could support Hillary Clinton because she was a Bernie Sanders supporter. And, basically talking about, well, if Trump gets elected, it'll kind of, bring the revolution in faster. These Sarandon types, Mara types, they're not fully threatened they don't feel threatened by what could happen, from another Trump presidency. And so they have, so Mara has no problem speaking out because whatever he feels like, whoever comes in, he's going to be all right. And that is part of the problem. As we talked about in the last segment, this is another thing that can help take votes away from Biden. People won't vote for Trump, but they'll just stay home or maybe go for this Phillips guy in some way, shape, or form. And we keep going down to the least experienced people trying to rise to these positions of power. You used to actually have to have experience before you became Speaker of the House, but now it's like, let's just get anybody in there. Oh, this guy is 54, Phillips, let's just get anybody in there. And so I'm hoping that more Democrats will speak up now, not wait 6 months, 7 months, and to do exactly what you're doing right now, Roland, to say that we are coming behind Biden right now before anybody else tries to get funny with this business and start to work internally as well as externally to start to shut this down. Because between that and you got Kennedy as the independent and all of these, and Cornel West out there, doing all of these things. Vote here, vote there. You got Youngkin with the prisoners and what he's doing there, DeSantis and the like. And Biden can be poised to lose a lot of votes he could actually need to become president. And so this Phillips stuff, it needs to be shut down. Now is not the time. And I don't know if he's trying to prepare himself to get some exposure for 2028, but whatever it is, he's got to dead that.
The thing here, Renita, is, again, I hear a lot of Bernie Sanders people talking. He's 82 as well.
Hello.
Renita, go ahead.
I have two thoughts on this. Number one, you're never going to catch me supporting coronations by the Democratic Party. So if this man wants to run, let him run. He has the freedom to do that. Let him make his case just like Biden does. And for the folks that are so overly excited about Biden, then his accomplishments will clearly outweigh what this guy is bringing in the primary and shouldn't be a problem. But the second thing is, I don't think that these comments were directed for us. This is a news show that talks to mostly the black folks, and we talk about black issues. I do not hear black folks listing age as a top primary reason as to why they would or would not vote for a candidate.
I've heard it. I've heard it. I mean, I guarantee you I've heard it.
I'm not saying that you never hear, but what I'm saying is that's not the make or break. I don't know any black person saying, even if a candidate did every single thing that I wanted, I would not vote for them because they were a certain age. I don't hear that. I hear black folks having issues with policy and issues with what they feel like was not done and unforced errors. I do not know any black people who have said age of the candidate is the top number one litmus test of how I'm going to use my vote. So I just think at the end of the day, this comment that came out from Bill Maher was not directed at our community. I kind of agree with what Oma Congo is saying, which is when you are not the community feeling the majority of the pain, then I think you do kind of look for superficial things to base your vote on, because it doesn't really matter who gets elected because you're going to be okay. I don't think it was directed for us.
Well, I can tell you right now, I've heard this. I've traveled this country. I've been to a whole bunch of cities. I've actually heard that. I've seen it talked about even on our chat boards, things along those lines. All I'm simply saying is this here. Just because you want a younger candidate, the question is, can they do the job? I just look at who can do the job. Because you know what? It's a whole bunch of people out here who are talking about he's too old. Let me help y'all out. Auntie Maxine, she 85. Is she doing the job?
Mm-hmm.
So it ain't always about age. Again, I just told y'all, Bernie Sanders 82.
Roland, one more thing. If you look at it, what I do think is also interesting, again, I don't think age should be anything that anybody should really be considering. But when you look at it, people never bring this up about Trump, who is essentially the same age. You do not hear anything about Trump's age. So I do think that, again, like I said, I think that this is
you don't hear it because, let's be clear, mainstream white media wants Donald Trump back in the White House because they want the chaos every single day because they made a lot of money when he was president. Period.
You know, Roland.
I got to go to a break, but that's literally what the former president of CBS said. He said, listen, Trump, he said, may not be good for America, but he's great for CBS. That's what the media wants because, frankly, they think Biden is boring because they like the chaos. Well, you know what? Those fools can yell all they want to. Last thing I want to see is that orange fool back in there. The only thing I want to see Donald Trump in is an orange jumpsuit. Folks, I got to go to a break. First of all, Makongo, Renita, Julian, thanks for being on today's panel. We come back. I'm sitting down talking with TMF about their new single. And also, these are the folks who, for a long time, with Frankie Beverly and Mays. Now they're not. What happened? Let's break it down. We'll talk about it when we come back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here in the Black Star Network. Support us in what we do. We want y'all, of course, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. We're fighting a good fight when it comes to these advertising, folks. But we, of course, need your support. So you check your money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal are Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Don't forget, you can also download our app, the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Don't forget to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available. Bookstores nationwide, Ben Bella Books, Indie Books, of course, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can also download the audio version on Audible. Also, you can watch our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week streaming channel on various platforms. Plex TV, Amazon News, Amazon Freevee, as well as Amazon Prime Video. You can also tell Alexa, play news from the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
as an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol. We've seen shots.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Immigrants lured off Texas streets and shipped to places like Martha's Vineyard and Washington, D.C. Believe it or not, we've seen it all before.
You people in the North, you're so sympathetic to black people, you take them.
60 years ago, they called it the reverse freedom rides. Back then, Southern governors shipped black people north with the false promise of jobs and a better life. It's a part of a well-known playbook being brought back to life. So what's next? That's next on the Black Table, a conversation with Dr. Gerald Horne about this issue of the reverse freedom rides, right here on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, are you trying to figure out how to earn more revenue in your business during these volatile times? Learn how to tap into the largest marketplace in the world through government contracting. Our next guest, Akia Hardnett, will be sharing how you can get wealthy through government contracting.
We got a young lady, government assistance to government contracts. She literally was on government assistance when she came to us, and in less than a year, she has been winning multiple government contracts, and it has changed the trajectory of her family.
That's right here, only on Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
I'm Dee Barnes, and next on The Frequency, we talk to award-winning screenwriter and director Chanel Dupree about her film, You Think You're Grown, the adultification of young black girls. This is a conversation that all women can relate to.
This woman was like, oh my God, you know, I went through this when I was a kid. She wore something, it was a maxi dress, but the way it fit on her body, this female teacher thought that she looked too grown and spun her around in front of a male teacher and said, do you think she looks grown, right?
Oh my God. So that's next time on The Frequency on the Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Immigrants lured off Texas streets and shipped to places like Martha's Vineyard and Washington, D.C. Believe it or not, we've seen it all before.
You people in the North, you're so sympathetic to Black people, you take them.
60 years ago, they called it the reverse freedom rides. Back then, Southern governors shipped Black people north with the false promise of jobs and a better life. It's a part of a well-known playbook being brought back to life. So what's next? That's next on the Black Table, a conversation with Dr. Gerald Horne about this issue of the reverse freedom rides, right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff.
So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Me, Sherry Shepard, with Sammy Roman.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, for years they were the band with Frankie Beverly and Maze. Now the seven brothers have ventured on their own, added some other members and themselves, calling themselves TMF, the Music Forever. Joining me in the studio, Rome, Daniel Witherspoon, Jubu, Chris Walker joins us from Houston. Calvin Napper is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Vance Taylor is in Atlanta. And Bear Williams joins us from Chicago. So first of all, gents, glad to see y'all. How's it going?
You. It's going
All
great,
is well.
man. Good to see you. Living my best life.
Okay, well, ain't nothing wrong living your best life. So TMF stands for what?
The Music Forever. It's
All
an
right.
acronym for the Music Forever.
All right, because in February when the release came out of y'all launching the tour, it was something else.
It was.
Right. Yes.
The Maze
All right.
factor at the time.
Huh?
It was the Maze factor at the time.
Gotcha. All right, so how did we get here? For the longest, you were one of the founding members of Maze, right?
Yeah.
All right, how long, you were in the group for how long?
23 years.
23 years?
2 years.
2 years. And who else is on?
Bear's 20 years. Calvin's 13 years. Vance is 20 years as well.
Got it. So that's a long, long time.
Yeah.
What happened? How did we get to this point?
Well, I think Bear can explain that.
All right, Bear? Bear, you got me?
Doing Roland. All right, yeah. Basically, let me just start by saying thank you for having us on. Thank you for allowing us to clear the air, if you will, about this particular subject. We had basically a breakdown in communication with the new management company that took over after our former management suddenly passed away about almost 2 years ago now.
Yep.
And so there was a new management team brought in. We did not know them. We had been with the other team for as long as I've been there for 20 years, and so they came in, they promised us, transparency. They promised us open book, open door policy. And at first everything seemed like it was going to be just that. But as quickly it started to deteriorate, less and less communication. And the communication thing finally came to a head. We were scheduled, the band that you know now as TMF, we were scheduled to perform with Frankie at the May 7th performance of Maze featuring Frankie Beverly at the NOLA Jazz and Heritage Festival.
Yep.
What happened with that was we did not perform because we had a labor dispute, and management decided that, basically it was not worth negotiating with us on it. And so they basically canceled our tickets, our flights. And so that was it. That was the end of Maze as you have known it, or fans have known it for 20 years. That's basically it. They let us go. And we have nothing but love for Frankie. We have nothing but, that's the reason we decided to band together and continue on the legacy of the music. Frankie has not retired. We never said he was retired. We never said that that he should have retired. We never tried to attempt a coup to take over the band. That was some things that are said. There's been a lot of erroneous things said online about us, which simply are not true. We have nothing but the utmost respect and love for Frankie, and we just wanted to see the music in our way continue. And that's basically it. If anybody else wants to add anything, they certainly can. But that's it from my perspective. It was basically just a labor dispute. Sometimes things don't work out. And was it painful? Sure, of course it was. It's a long, long time to be with someone, in that capacity and not, end up with that person. You think you're going to be, ending up that, for the duration. And it just didn't work out that way. But we're glad that we have been able to band together as a group and continue on with TMF. Of course, we've got the new single out, Making Love to the Music, and that's where we are, Roland.
It was surprising and shocking to a lot of different people, and because you're talking about long-standing relationships.
Oh yeah, 55 years for me.
Rome came up with the name Maze. Rome named the band.
Mm-hmm.
And to add to what Bear just said, the hurtful part was you have new people coming in that we didn't even know these people. We weren't even allowed to talk to Mr. Beverly. We only saw him when we hit the stage. So it was just really, really weird. But we had always talked about the thing that kept us together was our love for each other. We have a strong love for each other. So, I was really saying, hey man, let's keep playing. Let's keep playing the music. And ironically, when you broke the story, you text me the night before at 10 o'clock. And they will tell you, I'm nocturnal. That one particular night, I fall asleep. I wake up in the morning. I'm like, yo, I get a text from Roland, what's going on? And you say, hey man, what's going on? Next thing I turn on the TV, and the story is out there. So that was ironic, but because I had just saw you the week earlier in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And so it was just a breakdown in management. And me personally, I just felt it was very, very disrespectful, the way the new regime started to handle us. Basically, you are sidemen. And I was like, sidemen, if that's the case, then why are we on the pictures? Why are we on the t-shirts? Why are we on the website? Why are we, I'm not a sideman. That's not what Frankie told me. Frankie said, we're a band. So it really was a breakdown in management, and we were never able to speak to Mr. Beverly. And once again, like Bear said, the hurtful thing is we are a band of brothers, and we love that man. I mean, I love that man. I was playing with Whitney Houston. He called me himself. And I left immediately because I love this band and I love that man. So that's the thing that's important to me, that the people know that it's nothing against Mr. Beverly.
Yeah, and more importantly,
Go ahead. Correct.
with this band, I mean, with these musicians, I mean, just phenomenal musicians and their body of work. I mean, if you went around the horn, they played and performed with some iconic people. And having that, there was no way we were going to just allow anything but us sticking together, even after Frank decided to retire. Our plan was always to continue as a band and close a chapter and begin a new journey.
Have y'all talked to Frankie since?
No. No, I reached out to him. I left him a heartfelt message. But again, it's a lot of control on that end. A lot of control.
I mean, that has to be surprising. I mean, because look, it's not like, you know, like some folks where they perform, you know, occasionally. Y'all on the road constantly. Y'all were forever.
9 months out of the year, easy.
I forgot, I'm sorry I forgot his name, but when, was he your drummer? When he passed,
McKinley Williams. He was our other percussionist.
Right, and you were on tour.
Yes.
And he passed away. Yeah. Y'all performed that.
We were in Tennessee.
Yeah.
We were in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they pronounced him passed at about 5 o'clock.
He had a heart attack.
He had a heart attack, and Frankie called each one of us individually, and he said, "What do you guys think?" And honestly, we all said McKinley would want to perform. And I mean, we were all crying, and it was crazy, but that might have been one of our best shows because that's who he was. He was a player. He played. You know, that's what he lived for. So we did that to honor him, but it was tough.
Of course. I'll say when I got a notification, I was kind of like, yo, what is this? When you're announcing this, you did your first performance together. Christopher, that was in Atlanta, correct?
Father's Day.
Chastain Park.
Yeah.
Father's Day?
Anthony Hamilton.
Yeah, Anthony Hamilton. Chris?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead. Just talk about, again, getting together and that first performance in Atlanta.
Well, you know, for me, that was a bit scary because, you know, the audience was so used to seeing these guys with Frankie for so many years. I was on pins and needles because, of course, you know, I'm a huge fan and I've been a fan for so many years. In fact, I got my start in the business working with Regina Bell, and her first tour was opening for Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. I was 19 years old, and I was singing a duet in the show with her. And many nights I would look in the wing, and there would be Frankie standing there listening. And on a number of occasions, he came up to me and said, "Young man, keep doing what you're doing. You have a great voice. You're going to make it one day." Of course, fast forward, I never thought in a million years that I would be in this position working with these incredible guys. So Chastain Park, we're there. We walk out on stage. The audience is sitting there with their arms folded, mean mugging us. I mean, it was tough. So the first 4 songs, you know,
and again, hold on. So for the audience to understand, and so this was the press release. So people at home probably saying, "Okay, I understand why they were." No, do not go. No, just stay on me. Just understand, folks. This was the press release, and this is probably why they were like, "Man, what in the hell is going on?" And it was TMF, formerly of Maze, featuring Frankie Beverly kickoff tour in Atlanta, an all-white affair. Now you can go into it, an all-white affair starring Anthony Hamilton and the formerly of Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. Okay, and so then they had the photo as well. So the audience was probably like, what in the hell is going on? Is this like an imposter group? Because look, those of us who understand music, we know the Temptations, when they sued Dennis Edwards, you've had the Spinners, you've had these sort of different groups. And so, Chris, go ahead. You said the audience was arms folded, looking like, yeah, what y'all gonna do?
Look here. So the first thing I said when I addressed them, I said it's pretty obvious. We know who I'm not, and who I'm not trying to be, and I can't be. No one can ever replace Frankie Beverly. You know. So once they
y'all came out there in all that white.
Well, you know.
So they were really trying to cuss y'all out. Go ahead.
But I'll tell you, man. After we, of course, before we go on stage, we pray, and the guys told me, they said, just speak from your heart. And after I addressed them, it was like pouring hot water on ice. The audience, there was a shift in the atmosphere, and they embraced us. And from that moment on, they couldn't deny it. I mean, and people were out there, you know, you could see heads moving and the toes tapping, but in those first 4 songs, they were just confused and in their emotions. But after that, man, it was a party, and we ended the night with a standing ovation.
Let me jump in there, Chris.
So they would look at y'all like the guest preacher?
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. We have pride, too, and we knew we're the DNA. For the last 20 plus years, we're the DNA, right? So when it got to golden time of day and I walked out to do my part, I'm looking at the people like, y'all not gonna get with me? Y'all don't remember me? I'll solo for the rest of the night until y'all, you know. So it was that thing to where once Chris really did pour out his heart and tell these people, hey, we're not trying to replace Mr. Beverly. No one can do that. We just want to keep playing music, man, you know? And the people started, it was almost to a point where they felt ignorant. They felt stupid, holding a grudge, like, it's good music.
Right. I think a lot of it was curiosity, too. You know, they had heard about us, but they actually wanted to see us.
And it's a tremendous amount of respect for Mr. Beverly, which we get.
Yeah.
You know?
And one thing I'll add, I said to the audience, you can't deny these guys. They've been with him for 20 plus years. And all I said to the audience was, please just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. And they did. They opened up their hearts, man, and they embraced us.
I want to bring in Calvin and Vance. Calvin, go ahead, your thoughts.
I'm sorry?
I said, Calvin, your thoughts. Go ahead.
Oh, well, like I said, Barrett said it best, and we have nothing but love for Frankie Beverly, and I love him. I've been in the band for 13 years. I've learned a lot from him. You know, Frankie is actually, a lot of people may not notice, but he's actually, you know, he's a drummer. And in a rehearsal or two, he sat on my kit to try to, you know, show me some things and whatever. But no, I've learned a lot from him, and there's a lot of love from us to him. And we just want to carry on the legacy of the music, Roland. That's all. While also, you know, creating our own music, you know, our own original music, and so which we're working on, and we'll be putting an album out in the first quarter of 2024. So, yeah, man, we're just praying for God to open the right doors and close the ones that are not meant for us.
Vance,
amen to that.
You know?
Well, I want to mirror what everybody else said, man. It's been about love for me. Ever since I've been with Frank, he showed me love, and then the audience showed us love. And now that we've moved on, we just want to still do the same thing. We really love Frankie. We love the audience. We just want to bring good music to the world, man. We just thank everybody for those that have supported us, and those that haven't, understand that all we want to do is make you happy, you know, show some of this love that we've had for these years. So that's where we are.
Exactly.
Daniel?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm the youngest in the group. I was the youngest to come on. I was there about 2 years. I didn't get the pleasure of interacting with Mr. Beverly when I first came in. I came in as a sub. And I believe our first couple of rehearsals in Atlanta, he didn't even come. So I really didn't even get to meet him until after the first performance. But then about a year later, I got a phone call from him asking to be a part. And we've been there for 2 years, and it was a good time. Myself and Calvin have about 25 years of history together. I've known some of the guys together, and we've just grown together, and TMF has formed a great brotherhood, and we're really excited to release some music.
So These people, they think I never pay attention, but I see everything. And I would love to get your response to this, because I think this is sort of what you talked about. So this person named Brother King Lee, this is interesting. He goes, the audience wants the real thing. I love music. For me, it doesn't matter if I know the name of the musicians. But the problem with that is the musicians were the one playing the music. So it's not like when you're talking about, I'll give you the perfect example. You mentioned performing with Whitney Houston. All right. So on her hit, I Will Always Love You. I know because I got all of his music. That's Kirk Whalum on saxophone. But the reality is, you went to see Whitney Houston. The difference here is, it was Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. It wasn't just, and again, I love Frankie. He knows exactly how I feel about him, but it was actually a group, not a solo singer. So when somebody says, I don't care about the musicians, it's a little hard to say I don't care about the musicians, because that's the music.
Yeah, and the way Frank writes.
Hold tight 1 second, Ron, go ahead.
In the very beginning, Frank would come to us with the song completed with an acoustic guitar. And cats would come up with their own lines, patterns, groove, and we all created that style. And in that, you can never say, of course, Frank is a solo artist, writer, producer, but it's always been band first. And without the band, Frank, if he wanted to, could have been a solo artist.
But it's also why when you play the intro of some songs, the audience already knows what the song is before they even hear one lyric. Go ahead. I don't know who was speaking. I'm going to go to Juba first, and then I'm come back to you. Go ahead.
He could have been a solo artist, but he chose not to. And I would tell people all the time, Frankie was the last person to walk on the stage every night.
Right.
He would not go on that stage without the band. So for me personally, when management told me I was an independent contractor, man, that was so hurtful, man. Because that's never what even Frankie said. Frankie said, no, we are a band. We are a band. And the reason why the people loved it so much, because that's what you heard. You heard a band. Yeah, we were being led by an amazing artist, but it's a band, man. You know, it's an 18-wheeler.
Undeniable.
It's an 18-wheeler, and he was driving that thing. You know what I mean? But, you know, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Whoever was speaking, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What I wanted to add to that, what I wanted to say was, no artist is an island. No one. I don't care who's singing. I don't care who wrote the songs. Those people that they incorporate in that conglomeration, that group, that whatever it is, there's a certain DNA that each musician brings to the table that makes or breaks that music. And for someone like you said to say, well, I don't care who's playing, you know, it's kind of I'll say it, it's insulting to someone who has been in the trenches as long as I have, as long as we have with this group. It's our DNA for the last 20 years for me.
Well, it's
our DNA.
It's sort of like when the Funk Brothers, when the documentary came out, and people finally got a chance to know who these artists are, who actually played on more #1 hits than anybody else. You can't, you can't have a conversation about the Motown sound, and you call it the Motown sound, but you're only talking about the artists without understanding, yes, how those songs came together, and how it's put together. And a lot of people go ahead.
The creativity came from everyone, and it always has with us and most artists that I know of. I mean, there's some solo artists, there's some exceptions. Prince played everything, so he didn't really need to do what Frank did. But for the most part, it's been a band, and Frank is a band guy. That's why he wasn't a solo artist.
But Rome, even Prince, live, he had to have those players. They rehearsed for 6 months before they went on tour, because he had to massage those DNAs to make it what it was for that tour, that
Whether
moment.
It was New Power Generation or any other different. Yeah,
absolutely. And I also wanted to say this too, and I used to say this to Frank all the time, like, the music is bigger than the people that created it. The music stands. And we had some backlash when we first started this thing. How dare you guys go and play that music? And I would say, people, have you been to a local club lately? There's a million tribute bands
Absolutely.
that's playing this music.
Right here in D.C.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I was in Birmingham and the group was playing. Whenever I travel the country, I like to go listen to live music. So I've been, when I was in St. Louis, when I was in Birmingham, I'll be anywhere. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go hear some live music, and you're gonna hear. And then what's going to happen? You're going to hear the whole audience singing the song, and they know the musical parts as well as the lyrics, and so they understand all of it. Right. Hold tight 1 second. Go to a break. We come back. We're going to play your new single. We're going to talk about what is the new road ahead for TMF. Folks, you're watching this exclusive interview right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back in a moment.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff.
So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, are you trying to figure out how to earn more revenue in your business during these volatile times? Learn how to tap into the largest marketplace in the world through government contracting. Our next guest, Akia Hardnett, will be sharing how you can get wealthy through government contracting.
We've got a young lady, government assistance to government contracts. She literally was on government assistance when she came to us, and in less than a year, she has been winning multiple government contracts, and it has changed the trajectory of her family.
That's right here, only on Black Star Network.
Farquhar, executive producer of Proud Family. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
When we first met and everything was good, you were so sweet as the fresh morning dew, and I knew you were the one for me. You came into my world, gave me a reason to smile again. Every time I hear our favorite song on the radio, takes me back to the first time we made love. Oh, yeah. Feel it in your heart and in your soul, yeah.
Folks, that is Making Love to the Music by TMF. How did that song come together? Where did it start? Chris?
Yep.
You wrote it.
Yeah, I wrote it, of course, with these guys in mind, and I knew what they would bring to it, and they brought it to life. And yeah, it's a sensual song. It's grown folks music. which is something that I believe is missing today.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you say grown folks music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's grown up. I mean, it's real live musicians. We counted on repeatedly, went from top to bottom, tried it again, made our corrections, made our edits, put our life into it, put our energy to it, and we're very secure on who we are. We're very solid on not intimidated by the market. We love this space. We love how it feels. It feels true to us when we put it in our music.
Barry, you're there in Chicago. I understand the Steppers are loving it there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. It's so funny. When we were putting it together, I had not thought about it being a Steppers track, but when I played it in the car, I think we had done the Memorial Day show or something, and I came back home and put it in. I was like, well, I'll be doggone. This is a Steppers track. So yeah, the Steppers DJs here in town are really embracing it, and they are loving what we're doing.
And Roland, I noticed, I was kind of watching you. I saw you getting ready to get up and start doing some steps. I saw you.
Oh, first of all, let's be real clear, okay? I'm way. Look, I played what, cornet in elementary school, bass, baritone, horn in middle school, high school. My brother played trumpet, sister played clarinet, one played flute. Mom sang with her sister. So I'm always getting music. So me dancing, that ain't nothing new.
I've seen them dancing many.
Come on now, that ain't nothing new.
Hey,
So look,
brother, get down.
Oh yes, absolutely. Because I like good music. I like good music. How do you know? Drew, I'll start with you. How do you know when a song when it's done and you go, yeah, that's hitting right. That's hitting right. Because not everything does that. But how do you know when you go, that's it?
Well, from my perspective, take this song for instance. When he brought it to us, he said, hey man, you guys just do your thing, right? So we were all just honest. We were all honest, but everybody's bad. Like, most humbly, we're some bad brothers on our instruments. So what we had to do is come in a mind of production. It's not live. We're producing this right now, right? And so when we all went back in the room, it's like, wow, man, this feels good. It feels good. And we really did. We knew. We really knew, man. Mm-hmm. And it was like he said, it was just a fact of, okay, how's the market gonna take this? But and I'm gonna take something from Kanye. We're the market. We're the market. And that's how we're feeling about it. We're gonna do this music, and you're gonna love this music, or you're gonna feel ridiculously dumb for not loving this music.
And it was so easy to record, as well as easy for him to produce. It makes it all easy for everybody because, again, the one thing we have live as well in the studio is the chemistry. And that's big, in anything you do. If you have that, that's special. And we've had that with Maze as well as TMF.
And I think, Calvin, that's the thing. I remember for years when I was in Chicago, WVON radio, and then even when I did the special on Maze and Frankie Beverly for TV One, and I would ask people all around the country, I would say, what is it about the music? Why do black people respond the way they do? And it was always these very interesting answers that people would give, whether it was Cornel West or Susan Taylor or Michael Dyson or Usher, all those sort of people. And the thing about it was the most important thing people would say is they would say how it makes us feel. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think that's at the end of the day, when you listen even to this song, how do you feel listening to it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, K got the one word. Yeah. He's like, that's it. Vance, go ahead.
that's where I've always been about music, man. Even when I play, it's all about how it feels to me, and that's what this thing just. Our whole band just when we first did the song, it just seemed to just felt like I felt like I wrote it. That's how much it felt good to me. So I'm in agreement with it about how it makes me feel.
Chris, as a songwriter, explain to the public how when you write something, writing it looks totally different than how it comes out. So for you, seeing how the lyrics were received and then what the output was.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't write the songs. I'm just a vessel that God uses to get the music out. Sometimes I'll sit down and play one note on the keyboard and a whole song will just appear. And I think it's just the Holy Spirit working through me to help people feel good. And the thing about it is when I'm in the moment and I'm writing it, it's like I get excited about it. And if I get excited about it, I believe that'll translate to someone else because of how I'm receiving it. So that's my process. And whether it's I'm writing jazz, gospel, R&B, it doesn't matter. Whatever the Holy Spirit gives me, that's what comes out.
All right.
Oh, I get it. Look, I don't write speeches. I just ask them how much time I got. I do.
Boom.
No, really, I don't.
All right.
I don't even write. I gave a speech once. It was so funny. This woman's like, "Oh my God, that was amazing. We want to print the whole thing in our black newspaper." I was like, "Y'all better get somebody to transcribe it." She's like, "Can I get your notes?" I said, "Baby, ain't no notes." She's like, "You don't have any note cards?" I'm like, "Nope, that's all on top of my head." I said, "So transcribe it."
That's one of your gifts. Period. That's one of your gifts.
And so but that's the thing that I think for a lot of people, again, when I go back to the music. So I said it earlier. And Bear, you can answer this. When anybody here has gone to a Maze featuring Frankie Beverly concert, you could play the first 10 seconds of a song. You play the first 5 seconds. In many cases, 3 seconds, and then the audience knows what the song is. Mm-hmm. That's when people understand the power of the music. So again, lyrics are one thing, music is another, and when those two things come together, that's what makes a great song. Bear, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. We would have when we were touring as Maze. Like you said, we come out with "We Are One." Just the first ba-da-da-da, they know that immediately. They stand up immediately. Those first 3 notes. And it's just a magic when, like you said, when the lyric and the melody and the music and the musicianship come together, it's an amazing blessing. And so the other thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that we're talking about the process. We actually have a mini documentary that we did on YouTube, on our YouTube channel called TMF Making Love to the Music, the studio sessions, that actually shows our process and how we put the song together. It's about 11 minutes long. It's not long at all. But if people want to check that out, they can go to our YouTube. And that's all of our social media, by the way, is TMF The Soul Band. At TMF The Soul Band. So wherever they want to go. But yeah, people should check that out. It's a really cool way to see the process and how we put the whole thing together.
Cool. Let's talk about album. So are you working on it now?
Yeah, we have something coming out next year, around February, I believe it is. That's the target. And everyone will be writing. We're going to have everyone submit, their own thing. So you're going to be hearing original material. And then live, I'm thinking we're going to always do the Maze guns, the hits. But it'll be pretty much a TMF set.
All right, so everybody's gonna be writing. So do y'all have like a Motown Berry Gordy setup? Thumbs up, thumbs down. So how y'all go about what makes the cut?
It's a consensus.
It's a consensus.
Yeah.
Like it has to be unanimous?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Does it?
No 4-3 votes.
Is it us? Is it truly us? Or, is it something? We're working on something right now where do we have to bend it? How much do we have to do to it to make it us? Maybe it's not us. Maybe it's one of us individually, but not TMF, you know.
Okay.
So, but we are all songwriters, we're all producers, and that's the beauty about this thing too, because we all kind of know, yeah, this is gonna work for us, you know. And if it doesn't work for us, it works for someone else, you know.
Yeah, and each cat has a different narrative, you know, as far as the writing goes. Again, these cats, I'm so glad to be around them because, see, I've been with Frankie for 55 years. These cats have been around with different musicians, played on albums. So it's just, I keep telling them, you're keeping me young. I'm 55.
Well, by bringing different styles and dynamics and different
55,
sounds.
what am I saying?
Yeah, I was looking like
74, I'm sorry. See, you know you're old when you say you're 55.
I mean, I'll be 55 in 2 weeks. I was like, right. Like, I'm sitting like, I'll be 55 November 14th. I was like, really?
Yeah, my bad, but I also wanted to mention with the Maze songs, Before I Let Go, a Maze anthem, and I don't think there's any black party, barbecue.
Oh, no, it's the second, I'm saying it's the second national black anthem.
That's it.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
It's the staple.
Right. So before, I'm saying they playing that. Before I Let Go is the second national black anthem. And Can't We Talk by Tevin Campbell is close to becoming the third. It's gonna take Swag. I'm gonna see if Swag Surfing is still around 10 years from now. See if that makes the cut. But right now, without a doubt, Before I Let Go, it Lift Their Voice and Sing, and Before I Let Go.
Yes, sir.
So that's why I gave a speech. And somebody said, we about to sing somebody said we about to sing the Black National Anthem. And I was like, you about to sing Before I Let Go? That's what I'm about to do. I mean, that's just a fact. That's just a fact.
Yes, sir.
Chris, tell us about this work on this first album.
It's magic. I mean, so far we recorded 5 songs, and you know, when I tell you the synergy is there, and I think the people are going to feel it, and the musicianship, like each guy has stated, has been amazing. I mean, the songs pretty much play themselves. So we're excited to get on the road and perform it live for the people. So you know, sky's the limit.
All right, final thoughts. Calvin, you first. No one-word answers.
Oh, no. No, man, I just, you know, these guys, Roland, everybody in this band, man, they're super talented, you know, super gifted. And it's been said earlier tonight, I think Jubal mentioned it and Rome mentioned it. There's a chemistry here, man. You can put guys together, right? But you can put some bad guys together, but if there's no chemistry, you know what I'm saying? Because chemistry is everything. It's just like in relationships. If you don't have the right chemistry, you know, it's just not going to work. And just like outside of the music and off the stage, I've grown, you know, in relationship with these guys through, you know, it's love here, man. It's just nothing but love. And then like when we get on our instrument, it just translates, man. It's just so pure. We can sit down at our instruments on the sound check, man, and we can just strike up a groove. Everybody falls in place. It's just like, it's amazing, man. And I'm just praying that, you know, whatever opportunities God has for us, man, that we'll walk into all of those, you know. And I'm just looking forward to this new journey, man, and this new chapter with these guys. And much respect to Frankie Beverly, because like Larry said and all the other guys, I love him. I think we all love him, and that's where I am, man. Thanks so much for having us on, Roland. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it. Vance?
What's up?
I feel the same way. We brought, with Frankie Beverly, you know, the audience came to enjoy, and we came to play, and the synergy was just amazing. So we want to do the exact same thing with what we have right now, because we're all coming from love and from spirit, and we want to give that to the people because we know that they'll enjoy it. And it's coming from our hearts, and so just come out, check us out. You know, I can't wait for y'all to hear all the stuff that we have in the box for you.
Daniel,
I'm glad I'm truly glad that people still respect it, feel it, honor it, and the system has caused a lot of people to be programmed on what's hot. or what's good, but you have a band of brothers here that really just stick true to our instruments.
But what's hot and good don't always last.
Hot and good don't always last, but what feels good connects to people. You know, people know what feels right. They know what came from the heart.
See, I call it all shit music.
You can say that.
No, seriously, because you listen to a song, you like, that's a nice song. But then when the right be like, shit.
That's my joint.
Everything don't rise to an all shit song.
People know.
So,
Yeah, they know. They know what's right. And we don't always give them enough credit. We don't always give the listener enough credit.
right.
But I'm glad to be a contributor. I'm glad to be a part of it. And never knew 30, 40 years ago, this is where we'll be sitting and talking about extending live music. But we're here and we're gonna keep grinding.
Chris.
Well, the only thing I would like to ask is that for the public is just to keep TMF lifted in prayer, and also to keep Frank and his camp lifted in prayer. This is not easy, especially from my perspective, because of course Frankie can never be replaced, but singing those songs and honoring him is truly like a lifelong dream for me. So I just ask people to keep both camps lifted in prayer as we embark on this new journey as TMF.
Jubu.
The word for me is consistency. What has made Maze featuring Frankie Beverly the iconic group that they are? Consistency. Frank was consistency. He taught me consistency. What's leading TMF now, I'll give you a small secret. What has gotten us to this place, every Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock without fail, we have a Zoom meeting. That Zoom meeting starts with prayer. Then we go down the list of what we're trying to accomplish till we get to next Wednesday. That Zoom meeting ends with prayer. We are all God-loving, God-fearing men. And we have faith, and we're gonna be consistent. And like Chris said, all we ask is that you come and enjoy the music. That's all we ask for, because there's no animosity towards where we were in our past. We're just looking toward the future, and we want everybody to be blessed.
There.
Wow, I mean, it's an incredible place that we're in right now. Again, I'm just piggybacking off of what everybody else said. Nothing but love for Frank and his camp, and nothing but love for these guys here in TMF and our new journey together. The music is not only reaching here in the States, Roland, but it's also now catching fire over in Europe and in the UK. And we could not be happier about that. We're gearing up to really hit every place we can hit, because people are on our social media. People are like, come to Detroit, come to Buffalo, come to this place, come to that place, and I'm usually responding. I'm like, yeah, we're working on it, we're working on it. But that's really where this band lives. We love the studio, but it's a live band. We love and live for live. And so, yeah, like everybody says, we just want you guys to come out, have a great time, and connect with TMF online as well as when we do live shows.
Where are y'all next?
Detroit.
When?
24th of November, day after Thanksgiving. And Mr. Martin, personally, thank you for sharing your platform with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's when you own it. Rome, you get to close us out.
Yeah, I want to also, we go back a long way, man. Thank you for your support throughout.
We don't go back 55 years, but go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, man, because you've been a part of that journey as well. Thank you for this opportunity, because this is big. This is what we need, exposure. We need people to see us and see what we're about. You've given us that opportunity. So, and again, for the fans, we love the fact that you're still supporting us. And we want you to continue to support TMF as well. And thanks, brother. This means a lot.
I appreciate it.
Trust me.
I appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.
When Nell sent me the song, I was like, all right, I see we got a groove to it. I was like, okay. I was in the car, so I couldn't dance. But I always play music on my Instagram Live. I'm always doing that. And the thing about it is, for me, what I love about music is you could be in a bad mood, you could be awful, you could have got fired, your woman could have left you, your man could have left you, you could have failed a grade or whatever, but you put certain songs on, and it's gonna completely transform your mind, transform your energy. It makes you remember mother and father, it makes you remember.
Oh yeah, nostalgic.
I mean all of that.
Yes,
so there are markers in life, and so I think that's what great music does. And again, as somebody who played in the band, I have a different appreciation for musicians. I'm fine with folk who sing all kind of electronic stuff, but it's something different when that live band is really getting going. So I really hope the people certainly appreciate what y'all are doing. Frankie still travels. He still performed with Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. When I remember when I did the story, there were some people who were, it was all on social media speculating, oh, he's retiring. And I hit him, I hit Pam. I was like, hey, is this true or not? 'Cause that's me. I'm always check first. I'm gonna hit folk direct. And it was so funny. Reve called me upset. Why you didn't call me? I was like, well, I hit the source first. I said, hell, I don't go to number 2. I go to number 1. That's how I roll. I said, please, that's how I roll. So that's.
I'm sure she has some 4-letter words.
I ain't care. I tell everybody, I don't go through conduits. I go right to the source. That's what I did. So glad to see he's still his thing. Mad love for him. And again, the music will live on. And so I appreciate this. And this is also why and we'll close it out with this, and I tell the audience this all the time. This is also why we have to have black-owned media, because the reality is this here. We've been chatting now probably about 40, 45 minutes. And look, I know how the CNNs of the world operate, know how they work, and the reality is they wouldn't see any value whatsoever. But when we have black-owned, we get to control it, we get to own it, and we got to ask permission. And I hope a lot of people who are watching learn from it. And now understand the backstory. Now folks don't have to run around, because I've heard a lot of those rumors too. They were plotting, it was a mastermind, all this sort of stuff like that. And people now get to have understanding and again appreciate the music. So let me thank Calvin, Vance, Chris, and Bear. Thank y'all for joining us via Skype. Hopefully I will see y'all somewhere soon. I ain't gonna be hard to spot. Because I'm going to be the one spinning and moving. I'm just letting y'all know, okay?
And if there's anything we can do for you, man, keep us in mind.
I appreciate it.
You got us.
I appreciate it. Gentlemen, thanks a lot. Good luck with the album. Good luck touring. Folks, that is it for us. Don't forget, support us in what we do. Of course, remember, later this week we're going to be in Virginia. We're going to actually be in Richmond, Virginia. So that's going to be on Thursday. I'm still looking forward to that. Support is what we do. Again, our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. It raises $1 million for us to pay for what we do. Like I say, we're fighting the battle every single year with our advertisers. You know how it is. They support mainstream media. They don't support black-owned media. So that continues. So please, send your check and money orders. All the folks who don't believe in electronic stuff, I get it. I go pick up y'all 30 checks and money orders every week. Y'all old school. But guess what? It all is all real money. We don't do Bitcoin here. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And of course, you can also download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You can also see our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week streaming channel. We're now on 4 fast channels. Amazon News, so simply go to Amazon Fire and go to Amazon News. Tell Alexa play news from the Black Star Network, so you can hear that audio over the Alexa. Also, check us out on Plex TV on their 24-hour streaming service, as well as Amazon Freevee and Amazon Prime Video. So when you look at the live TV grid on Amazon Prime Video, we're right there with ABC, NBC, and CBS. We're the only black-owned daily, black-owned news and information network in the country. And so support us that way. And don't forget to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available from Ben Bella Books. You can get it from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million, and download the audio version. Yep, I read it as well on Audible. Folks, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no!
punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?